Welcome back to Sketchbook Time Machine. I'm Harper, and this is a Sketchbook Journal travel story. Because today,
I'm in Mexico City.
The title of this video is actually kind of deceptive because I didn't really do that much drawing in Mexico. We were way too busy checking out this kick-ass city. Matter of fact, the only thing I drew on the whole trip was this. But that's okay because with all the cool museums, temples, and street art that I saw, I was inspired to make this image for the video today. It's a sun god flanked by a jaguar and a serpent. But enough of this bullshit. Let's get to the story. Wednesday, December 12th, 2018. Is that a dead cat? Pulling out of the driveway on our way to the airport, we could see the lifeless specter 2 houses over. The local bobcat had claimed another victim, the neighbor's black cat. There was nothing we could do, and it was super sad, but in the back room of my brain, I thought, is this bad luck for our trip? Does the cat have to actually cross your path, or... Well, it's probably not good luck anyway. We dropped Zora off at the pet sitter's house and freaked out a little. We've never left our dogs with anyone before. Driving through morning traffic, we told each other that we had done our due diligence, and at some point, we're going to have to trust somebody if we ever want to go anywhere. We parked in the price gouge garage at Terminal 4 and then stood in line for the TSA bullshit parade. We find our seats, and of course, I'm on the aisle, so I can't get a video shot of the takeoff. The pilot is so mellow on the overhead announcements. Sounds like he sparked a pre-flight bowl. In flight, a woman works her rosary beads. Another eats a sloppy sandwich, and the guy next to me has breath like garbage in the sun. At least I'm not sitting in Maria's row, next to the exhausted woman with an infant, a 2-year-old, 3 carry-ons, and a pizza. My headphones play The National over the silent stupidity of an NBC game show on the drop-down screens. I close my eyes and play back some of the reactions from people about us going to Mexico City. Is it safe? Be really careful. Dude, it's super dangerous there. Everything is scary. Everything is going to get you. Bummed out that I couldn't get a shot of the volcano from 10,000 feet on the way in. My cellular service is turned off so we don't get gaffed by AT&T, and the airport Wi-Fi is sketchy. Can't contact our driver. Maria finally got through on WhatsApp, and Francisco picked us up 10 minutes later. Crazy traffic to the Airbnb apartment in the La Condesa neighborhood. Maria's friend and Spanish teacher, Luz Maria, is meeting us there and happens to walk up just as we arrive. Deborah, Maria's stepmom, is waiting for us inside. Nice place. It's a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath with huge windows on the 3rd floor. 10 minutes to drop off luggage and pee before heading downtown to pick up our will call tickets for Ballet Folklorico that night at the Palacio de Bellas Artes. The Ticketmaster outlet is on the 5th floor of a department store called Liverpool, and there's a line 25 people deep. Luz Maria volunteered to be a hero and stood in line while we went to check out the Metropolitan Cathedral. When I was trying to get a shot of the ornate interior domes of this Baroque beauty, I accidentally shot video during evening mass. I said 5 Hail Marys and 3 Our Fathers, and I think I was forgiven. Even for a non-believer like me, standing in this 200-year-old house of worship was very calming and peaceful. It's an incredible architectural achievement. But what impressed me even more was walking across the massive Zocalo Plaza. I felt like I was stepping onto the set of a movie or a TV show. I've seen this giant square filled with concerts, parades, and protesters on the news so many times, but standing in the middle of it, it felt even bigger and more important. Heading back into Liverpool, there was quite the crowd gathering to watch Cumbia Santa and his dancers shake it up and get the party started. I heard Love Song by The Cure on the escalator in the store, and when we came out, the streets were lit up with holiday lights. We had dinner at the restaurant Azul Histórico. The beer, tequila, and ambiance was great. It's too bad the service was super slow. We sprinkled fried crickets on the guacamole and savored the crunch of earthy sweetness. We walked down Avenida Madero to the Bellas Artes Cultural Center, another beautiful building and even more spectacular at night. The first thing you notice when walking into the theater is the massive 24-ton stained glass stage curtain made by Tiffany's in New York. This 1 million piece work of art is the only one of its kind in the world. The ceiling dome featuring Apollo and the Muses reminded me of a spaceship on a forgotten Boston album. My dehydrated travel headache was pounding away to the beat of the opening drum number of the show. The deer dance captured and broke the ladies' hearts, while the rope dance featuring a charro showing the strength of his lasso skills had the men feeling inadequate. Or maybe that was just me. The performance was fantastic and the mariachi accompaniment crushed it. We were in the front row and I could feel the wind from the swirling dresses. I don't know how the dancers kept up with the frenetic pace and the costume changes for over an hour. After the show, we couldn't get an Uber, so we took a taxi back to the apartment and slept like the dead. Thursday, hit the corner OXXO bodega for supplies and then walked to Cafe Toscano for breakfast. The croissants were great and the chili killies were pretty good. On one of the outdoor tables, we spotted an abandoned sandwich with a short handwritten note. No me gusta la mostaza. Si lo quieres, cómetelo. I don't like mustard. You can eat it if you want. Artistic statement? Or just a tough food critic? We tried to walk down to the Museo Nacional de Antropología, but took a wrong turn and ended up way down at the Angel of Independence before we knew something was amiss. So, lemons into lemonade, we stopped at a roadside bazaar and I got some trashy books to practice my español. Novelas apasionadas, with titles like Pleasure Slave and One Man and Two Women. I told Maria that I got them for the cool cover illustrations. Heading back to the museum, we took another wrong turn and had to duck into a Starbucks to grab some free Wi-Fi and find out just where the hell we were. I learned a very important phrase on this trip. Puedo tener la contraseña de Wi-Fi, por favor? Can I have the Wi-Fi password, please? Thought about grabbing a cab, but the streets were packed with a bumper-to-bumper standstill. We ended up walking another 1,000,000 miles and then jogged the last bit to the museum. We were still 40 minutes late to meet Deborah. Shit. The Anthropology Museum was awesome. So many kick-ass sculptures and artifacts from throughout history. I mean, this is a real museum, not like the half-ass wannabe collections you see in a lot of cities. Massive rooms with ancient cultural overload had my finger tired from snapping photos. The colossal roof of the interior dome is held up by a single column of a cascading water feature. Founded in 1964, the whole complex is an ultra-cool, mid-century modern architectural marvel. We saw the Aztec sunstone, the jaguar god, Chacmul, god of rain, the god of art. The list just goes on and on. But the standout for me was the 20-ton, 8.5-foot tall Olmec San Lorenzo Colossal Head II sculpture, unearthed in 1946 by Matthew Sterling and Philip Drucker. Maybe it was my favorite because I've seen the Indiana Jones-like photos in National Geographic and online so many times. But standing next to it, you really get the feel of the scale and history of this beast. We walked through Chapultepec Park and took a detour to see the giant piñata display at the Botanical Gardens on our way to El Castillo. This huge park with a lake is in the middle of the city and it's bigger than Central Park in New York. By the time we got to the castle grounds, we'd already been walking for miles and then discovered the steep climb up to the one-time presidential home. Palatial doesn't even begin to describe this place. Once we got to the top of the hill, we were rewarded with clear sky, 360-degree views of the city. Super lucky, because this was the only relatively clear day out of the 5 we were there. Yep, the pollution is real, and the air quality most days is hostile. Got some great photos and video from the balcony, but I didn't go all the way around, because in the back it's only 3 feet wide with this little tiny wall, and it's 5 stories up. I have a severe fear of heights, so I said F that Fitzgerald, and turned around. Then it was back through the park, around the lake to the Starbucks on Avenida Paseo de la Reforma for more Wi-Fi. We walked our asses off that day. I checked on Google Maps later, and it was only about 5.5 miles, but I called bullshit on that because it felt way further. Traveling to the Polanco neighborhood to have dinner with Luz Maria and Lucy, we had the best, worst taxi ride of the whole trip. We were in the cab and rolling down Reforma when Maria leans over and says, "Did you see the..." And I finish her sentence. Open Heineken tallboy in the driver's door pocket? Yeah. The street is 2 lanes each way with the center median. Our driver pulls into one of the breaks in the median to make a turn. There's a police officer standing in the middle directing traffic. She has a gun on her hip and is not in the mood for an illegal U-turn. The driver asks if he could just sneak the wrong way through the median real quick. She says no. He tries to sweet talk her. Oh, please, it's rush hour, and if I have to go all the way around, it'll take 25 minutes. Go around, she says. So the driver changes tactics. He gets super pissed off and starts arguing with the officer. No, she says for the 3rd time. So the driver puts it in reverse and starts creeping backwards like he's following orders. The officer looks away for a second, and he goes all in. He cranks the wheel, stomps the gas, and takes off right around her. The front fender grazes her leg and she almost goes down. She rights herself in time to slam a hand under the hood and then kicks the shit out of the side of the car with a steel toe boot blast. Boom! That's going to leave a hell of a dent. We take off and the cab driver says nothing, just drives away like it's no big deal. Meanwhile, Maria and I are waiting for the hail of bullets to come blazing through the back window. So now the driver thinks he's playing Mario Kart through the crowded downtown traffic, lane jamming and swerving in and out, inches away from the other cars. He was fearless, and I gotta admit, damn good at it. After a few lights, we make a new discovery. The driver is not the guy in the picture on the cab license. Perfect. Where are we gonna end up? But by then, we were in the Polanco neighborhood close to the restaurant. He let us out at the corner, and after we paid the fare, I shook his hand and told him that he was the best driver we'd had yet. He loved that. I mean, it was nuts, but the dude got us to dinner in 10 minutes during rush hour. Hats off to that guy. We met Luz Maria and Lucy at the restaurant La Única, but they were booked solid, so we went next door to Dulce Patria. Muy fancy. Seriously, this was some Netflix chef's table kind of shit. I had the tilapia, and the presentation and flavors were fantastic. And then Luz Maria taught us the proper way to drink mezcal. First, you take a slice of citrus, orange, grapefruit, or tangerine, and rub it with dark salt and pop it in your mouth. Then you take a sip, not a full shot, of the mezcal. And finally, you eat the worm. Damn, it'll put hair on your eyeballs, strong and smoky. Everyone was in great spirits with lively conversation and mad laughter. Friday. Walked around La Condesa trying to find a panderia for breakfast, but no dice. Went up to the corner for street tacos instead. Super good. Tried to find a taxi without much luck until Maria chased one down in a grocery store parking lot. The driver said he could take us downtown, but first he had to run into the store for something important. When he came back out, we could see that the something important was pastries and fresh bread. Maria asked him if he brought enough to share with everyone. He thought she was being serious at first and said no, but then he got the joke and laughed. We grabbed coffee on Madero and walked back to the cathedral because part of it was closed when we were there on Wednesday. On our way, we stopped in the middle of the Zócalo to shoot the quick opening for this Mexico City video. I only say 4 words for the intro, but between all the pedestrians and the concert sound check going on in the background, it took about 10 tries to get it done, and I still don't like it. Just east of the Zócalo, we walked through the largest street fair ever. Actually, it wasn't even a street fair or a bazaar, it was just a shit ton of vendors lining the streets as far as the eye could see in every direction. Got some cool shots of graffiti murals, and the droves of people hunting for prizes among the endless rows of trinkets and treasures. We made our way back to the Templo Mayor for a tour through the ancient pyramid complex right in the middle of downtown. It was so cool to walk above the passageways and secret rooms of the massive Tenochtitlan Temple. The museum near the end of the tour was a fantastic surprise. Tons of awesome Indiana Jones stuff to see. It was time for lunch, so we had some tacos and cold beer at a place called Pasagüero. Heard Hotel California in Espanol in one of the shops. That made me smile. We hoofed it over to Bellas Artes to get a cab, but weirdly, there weren't any. So we started walking back to the apartment and got lost worse than the last time. It's now 6 p.m. and getting pretty dark, and we've made another wrong turn onto the wrong side of the tracks. In our defense, our cellular GPS map wasn't working for shit. By now, we are tired, hungry, over it, and arguing. And as a special bonus, now we're going to be late to meet Deborah for dinner. We finally got back onto Reforma and found a Starbucks. Now let's say, hypothetically, you've never used Uber before. Do you think the best time to try it out is on a Friday night when you're visiting Mexico City for the first time? Probably not, but that's exactly what we did. I mean, it's not like the app is difficult, but with the spotty Wi-Fi and this being our maiden voyage, somehow wires got crossed. Our driver shows up and we jump in. 10 minutes into the ride, he discovers that he has indeed picked us up by mistake. He turns around and takes us back to the Bucks to wait for another Uber driver. Luckily, it was only 5 minutes until our real ride showed up and we were off again. But Friday night traffic thwarted every route to the La Condesa neighborhood. It took 35 minutes to go 4 miles, but we made it back in time for dinner. Walked a few blocks to the restaurant called Primo. Good conversation over stiff drinks, but the server mysteriously forgot about the 2 appetizers we ordered and Maria's entree. It was really weird because it's a nice restaurant and he seemed like he was on top of it. Saturday. Got coffee and then got lost. Yes, again. We finally found our way back to the apartment, but we're late and everybody is sitting in the car waiting for us. But before we can go, Maria pleads to go upstairs first because she's about to have a situation in her pants. More waiting. She emerges triumphant and we finally hit the road. Luz Maria's friend of the family, Lucy, is driving everybody to the Saturday Art Bazaar in San Jacinto Park. Lucy drove us all over the city. She is a champion and a hero. On the way to the park, we did a slow drive-by of the 1968 Olympic Stadium. In my opinion, still the best Olympic logo typeface ever. We arrived at the plaza without a reservation for breakfast at Saks. We pooled our good karma points and the cosmic universe gave us a Christmas miracle. A table for 5 after only waiting for 10 minutes. The interior of Saks is beautiful and the food and service was excellent. The new favorite food was the panque de elote. It's like a cornbread muffin with sweet corn filling. Sounds weird, I know, but believe me, and millions of other people, it's super yum. Most of the art was like you'd expect at an art fair. Not that great. But we did find some cool ink stamps, and surprise, we bought the skull and dog designs. After walking off breakfast for a couple of hours looking at all the arts and crafts, we ducked into Mercado del Carmen for beer and tacos. I know we just ate. It's beer and tacos. And besides, when you're on vacation, the rules go out the window. We piled back into the car and headed for Frida Kahlo's Casa Azul in Coyoacán. The line was way too long to visit the museum, so we took a moment to think about monkeys, feel Frida's pain, and wave as we drove by. Maybe next time, Frida. Maybe next time. The Coyoacán Neighborhood Street Fair was our next stop. We walked around the park, took photos of the Coyote Fountain, and checked out the artisans and shops around the Zócalo. That was enough walking and shopping for me. Time to get back to the tacos. Lucy told us that the best steak tacos al pastor in el mundo were at the legendary Los Sifones restaurant. Served on their signature homemade square tortillas, they were indeed excellent. And so, once again filled with beer and meat, it was time to head back to the apartment and collapse. Sunday, walked over to the local coffee shop. The single employee was opening the store and in a terrible mood. My Spanish sounded like a held-back first grader, but I was doing my best. She was not amused. I was reminded of why, when I see someone who is struggling with English, I'm the first to try and help them. Note to self, need to start studying Spanish again. Waiting for Lucy to pick us up for breakfast and the airport, I finally cracked the sketchbook for 20 minutes. The trip was so packed full of go, 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 it was the only time I opened it. We had the best chilaquiles for breakfast at Ojo de Agua. Walked through a high-end outdoor bazaar and some la-di-da boutiques in Polanco, and then headed to the airport. We sat at the wrong gate for almost an hour and then found the right one about halfway through boarding. I handed the guy my pass and immigration paper and I was good to go. But, of course, they stopped Maria for a random bomb check at the gate. They told me I had to board without her. So I sat on the plane ready to jump off at any moment, but they let her board 10 minutes later. She told me they did a full pat-down, baggage check, and hand swabs. So, thanks a lot, asshole terrorists and run-of-the-mill psychos. You've ruined air travel for everyone. The plane was half empty, that almost never happens, so we got to sit up front. I finished reading The Brass Cupcake somewhere over northern Mexico while Maria slept with her head on my lap. It was a hell of a great trip, best that we've had in a long time, but we were super tired and ready to go home and get Zora. Like most vacations, this quick taste of Mexico City really got me inspired to make some cool art. So much great stuff to see, cool people, and awesome food. I would definitely rate Mexico City a 5 out of 5 tacos. Hasta luego!
Well, that's it for today, and as always, thanks for watching. If you thought this video was pretty sweet and are dying to see more, hit that like button. And then if you're not doing anything after that, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. That would really help my self-esteem. And if you do, make sure you hit the notifications bell, and that way you'll never ever ever miss another sketchbook video right here on the Time Machine. Later.